think max and then men's, but I mean, there's no women here, so might as well just.
Anyway, I work for the village. Yeah, yeah, I know. The other day when I said village, we go back 20. Well, now, my partner and I, this okay, so yeah, for the presentations. Yeah. Oh God. That. What else did you need?
Is there, are people just watching? Okay, or not Zoom, that's just the YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is fed through.
Yeah, okay.
That's why Pedro.
But I'm just saying, we're not like interacting with them. We just, they're just watching. Alex, you didn't talk.
No, I'm.
Got it.
Nothing.
This agenda? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the start. So what is that? Our looking at the right now. Everybody can find. Almost like he was gonna be a little.
Yeah.
That's. No, I mean, I think everything here is in front of it, everything is in front of us. You'll just tell me when I start. Which one. I don't care, I really need my computer. Yeah, they're both are said they're on their way. How you doing? It's good. I was there this past weekend. Easy, I don't know. You rearranged. Where you changed it?
Yeah, this is the correct. I don't know what I.
Did you what you wanted? Is this the order you wanted it?
Right.
So,
I did. Oh, I'm sorry. I have
I had one. I have, okay, so. This is not an action item. This is-
sorry. I didn't find it.
Well, it's kind of. Basically, I'm gonna release it and we're just gonna jump right to your presentation. And then we will go back up and we'll go through and ask questions. And then we'll go to the water after that. Thanks, Scarlett.
So, David, thought it was 30. I just texted him right when we were walking over.
Yeah, I think
Oh, there you go.
Ed did the same thing. Everybody thought it was 6:30, so. Huh? We meet at 6:30 normally, yeah. So, hey, David.
I literally messaged you all day today and I'm like, "Can you just-
Huh?
what do you think it's 6:30 and?
Well, the funny thing is no, I had it correct on my calendar, but I was like, David, you idiot, you put it on the wrong time,
Oh.
in the wrong time slot. I didn't trust myself.
Public. Back in the early Zoom days, I used to love sitting there looking at other people. Like, what windows do they have open on their computers? All right, board members, we actually do have everything in writing in front of us.
Good.
We,
Okay.
we wanted to just, we don't actually need our computers, I don't think.
Here's today.
Oh, yeah. Right, that's actually part of our cost cutting measures.
Design Review Board. If you guys are ready? Okay, so
But Ed is gonna come, right?
he thought it was 6:30 also. So he said he's trying to get here as fast as possible.
What idiot would think it's 6:30?
At 6 o'clock. Because we normally don't start at 6 o'clock. so.
We're lemmings, we're creatures of habit.
All right, so good evening or good afternoon, I guess it's evening. Everyone, I'm gonna bring this meeting to order. This is the local planning agency for the Village of Biscayne Park. Today is Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. It is now 6:06. I'll do the roll call. David Gruen.
Here.
Scarlett Hammonds.
Here.
Gage Hartung, I'm here, as well as Raphael from the building department. And we have the manager here as well as Alex David. We'll go ahead. So we're looking at the comprehensive plan updates, and we have a presentation from Alex. So we will go ahead and what we'll do is we'll do the presentation and then we'll go through the draft ordinance and address any questions that we might have and direct it towards Alex. And I guess, yeah, so then start.
Good evening, board. My name is Alex David with Calvin Giordano and Associates, and I'm here to present a couple of the items on the agenda. The first being the comprehensive plan update that the village is undergoing now. There's a bit of feedback.
I think you have, turn off your speaker on your. Do I sign this?
There we go. There we go. I think that's okay. All right. Again, good evening. I'm Alex David with Calvin Giordano and Associates. I'm here to present a couple of the items on the agenda tonight. The first one being the comprehensive plan update, which is the requirement of state law. So we're just fulfilling our duty by going through and reviewing your comprehensive plan and making changes to meet Florida statutes. And there were a few other changes. We've modernized the document, redid the maps in the document, and a few other things. So I'll just go through them. There is a PowerPoint presentation in your package. I don't know if it's easier to read or to look at than on the screen. But we will just put a quick one together for your information. Right. So your charge tonight, sitting as a local planning agency, is to make a recommendation to the village commission. They will hear this item. If you recommend it fully, recommend with changes, or deny, that recommendation will go to the commission for their review. Also, after that first reading, it will be transmitted to various agencies, the state, county, and a few other agencies for their review and comment. So the next slide just shows the makeup of your comprehensive plan as it exists. There's a new required element, property rights, and you all have reviewed that, I believe, a couple of months ago. So that's in process, and that will be going to the village commission for their review and transmittal. So basically, we did a holistic review of the comprehensive plan, looked for outdated or obsolete goals and objectives and policies. We cleaned up the maps, and there's a transportation map series and a future land use map. So we just modernized those and cleaned them up and added them to your comprehensive plan and added some new provisions that were required by statute. So again, basically, what's listed here are the changes, like, as I said, modernize, we added an introduction explaining a bit about the village. We heard the need for tree canopy or to prioritize that. So we have added items in this document dealing with that. And also I wanted to bring up, as part of this package tonight, you'll be reviewing the water supply plan. So that's on a separate track, but that will be any amendments under the water supply plan will also be included in this document eventually. So, as I stated, you're sitting here as the local planning agency tonight, so you'll make a recommendation of approval with changes or denial to the village commission. They'll review it at first reading. And if it's approved at first reading, we'll transmit to a number of state, local, and regional agencies. About 10 or 11 agencies actually look at the comprehensive plans. They'll comment, and after we get any of their comments back, if we need to make changes, we'll make the changes before adoption. And then when that's all done and the water supply plan is approved and your property rights and whatever else, we'll clean up the document and get you a nice clean document with no strike throughs and underlines. So that would be your new adopted 2040 comprehensive plan.
By 2040, that means it's between now and.
It's right. So there's a short and long term. So we went with the 2040 dates because this is your vision plan. So, and 2040 is really not that far away in 17 years. So anyway, so that's why it's like that. It has to be a minimum of 10 years. So we went with 2040, a nice round number. With that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. So I thought the best way to do this would just, do you have on your presentation, the actual comp plan with the changes? Just so that I thought
Yeah, I
maybe we would
didn't,
just walk through it.
The red line.
The red line doc. It's in our box, but I'm just saying, do you have it for, you want it? Share it. And I don't have any upfront questions right now, but do any of the board members have any questions at this time? Okay. Anything to do with just starting before we get into the guts of it, or? Okay.
Okay, let me pull up no. Okay, let's try again. There we go. Okay, so just briefly, as I stated, we tried to modernize the document a bit. And so initially what we've done is add an introduction section up front. Just going through the table of contents, but basically we just went in and did a little introduction describing the village. So that's a brand new one, just a one pager.
And it's really just like a synopsis of.
A
what
very, a
this is about.
synopsis, right, the state doesn't require detailed data and analysis as they did. So we thought we'd just add this to describe the village.
I think it's a good addition because it kind of gives a little bit of a framework for, what we are and people up in Tallahassee don't know Miami.
No.
Any cities in Miami, so those are the ones that are basically going to be reviewing it, so it just kind of gives them some sort of a background of what our village is and
Who reviews it in Tallahassee? What the agency or what people do?
It's the Department of Economic Opportunity. And Ms. Emmons is right that, they review it. They really don't know here and there's been a lot of turnover. So it's good to just describe, give them a description of any municipality.
Okay.
Because they're not coming out and coming down to Dade County anymore.
Okay.
So,
That's a political appointed board or is it?
no,
something that
no, this
professional
is an agency of the agency of the state, the Department of Economic Opportunity. It's like.
it's our state land planning agency, but at the state level.
They're the people that influence or decide on any like state level grants or anything like that. that we go
Yes.
to.
Yes, and another division, I guess, or so, yeah, of the DEO.
Is there anything more that we could put in this to make it more attractive for grants on that?
Well, what they're looking for is a good comprehensive plan, not so much. I don't think up here, but they, as long as your comprehensive plan hits certain checks, right, keywords, the grant applications are easier, like tree canopy, we focus on tree canopy or there's another section we added on resilience or some, I forget what we actually called it, but those are kind of buzzwords. So if you want
I
to
think that was in conservation.
conservation and conservation elements. So if you say you want to go after a grant to expand your tree canopy, there's tree canopy in there. So that's what they look for. So, new map, general location map of the village, very straightforward.
Don't think that
Um,
changed.
Right, and so the next section is your future land use element. And basically, we've just gone in and cleaned up some words and outdated citations of Florida law. You'll see 9J5 crossed out. That hasn't been in existence for quite a long time. So it's things like that. We went in and cleaned up that and we changed shall. The big deal is change shall to will because in the document you have more wills than shall do something. So we kind of want it to be consistent in this document. We on page 8. I'm just kind of scrolling through because.
Let me just ask real quick, since we're on page 3.
Uh-huh.
Like, what is is it just a linguistics thing between review the situation and reassess? Or is it just like, why the change in that? Why would?
Well, review the situation. That's not really, I don't think the proper wording.
Okay.
Reassess, I mean, that's what you have to do. Every 7 years, you're supposed to look at your comprehensive plan.
Okay,
So some people do it on a regular 7-year basis and others don't. So, we just, I think instead of review the situation, it doesn't quite sound right. So we just put in.
What was our last time that we updated it? What? Do you recall?
It's been a while.
And
Yeah, it's over the 7-year.
yeah.
because it just seems like there's a lot of the red lines throughout are just basically shall,
Right,
will,
Right. So-
rewording of things, so.
We were careful because you have some very good policies and we're not wholesale wanting to rewrite things and, we want to meet the Florida requirements of Florida law, the statutes. And we have added things later on.
Yeah.
I mean, but this kind of,
But like an example would be, what is the difference between like in policy 1.3, the village shall continue or the village will continue? What is the
it's
linguistic?
a little bit
difference
more,
on those?
it's a little bit more
professional.
forceful.
I think too, what he said is that there's other, like later on, they're using the word will a lot, so it's just
Right.
making it so that
It's more uniform.
Yes, that's the whole thing, right?
Not that one word has more power than the other,
Right,
which
it's,
it's more of a.
you guys had it in there, so we kind of,
Oh,
we don't want to
sorry,
see,
my bad. Okay.
you know, we just keep it consistent.
Got it.
So Alex, I wanted to just say, did you want to include a policy that addresses no urban sprawl, like that's generally a requirement for future land use?
Well,
Did you guys talk about that at all?
have you read, this is Planning Geek, but have you read Florida Bill 439? They want to get rid of all the criteria dealing with urban sprawl.
Right.
So-
I read the synopsis this
So-
morning, but no,
39 pages.
no, I didn't.
Or whatever, so, yeah.
No.
so, you have no place to sprawl, that's the other reason.
Okay,
You're not annexing or spreading out, so I didn't think it was appropriate to bring that up if you're not doing it.
It's not something we had.
okay, there's just a question.
okay,
Yeah,
so it
because
was-
I know that normally that's a requirement of the statutes and do we need to include the allowed uses in our districts, the single family, the open space and public facilities? Because that's not in there.
So just call out,
There's nowhere in there that we say in single family district, single family is, or whatever
right.
uses we would allow,
There's.
other accessory uses or,
2.2 talks about the density,
yes.
and that's the only place that it was.
But then we don't address what's allowed in open space or public facilities.
So. I think there's something in parks, but I think we could add.
I read through it pretty thoroughly and I didn't find
So-
anything that these are the uses that you can
So I
put
know
in these
calling-
areas.
So. Why don't I? Change 2.2. Instead of just, talking about residential. Because I mean, that's the land development regs. Hold on, that's not the right place. Let's see. So, okay, so,
Is there a way he can have your computer and he can scroll to where we're discussing?
okay,
Just so that you're not doing two things. at
right. I'm
once.
not
The
very good at
audience
doing
can
that.
Actually see what we're discussing.
So,
You kind of go back into narrative towards the end of the chapter and that does talk about
page,
districts, but it
well,
doesn't really
Um,
tell you what you can do in them.
okay, so what I'll do is.
Mhm.
I could create, hold on, let me see, where's the best place for this? Maybe I create.
Maybe it's a new objective.
Or just I mean, it could be
Well,
policies 2.9, a new 2.9
Okay.
saying land, single family and public facilities and. parks.
Right, and or a new objective to adopt the future land use map, because I don't think we actually have anything that actually says we're adopting this a map. And then under that, policies that define what you can do in those districts.
Okay, so what you're recommending is an objective 6.
Saying that we adopt this future land use map 2040 as our new future land use map, and the policies that would go under that would define what we can do in those districts.
And then so what the recommendation is will be a new objective 6, the future land use map 2040 shall be adopted as shown in in figure.
Exhibit,
And then what Scarlett's
You're talking
saying
about
is-
policy too?
No,
Then,
there's going to be, so on page 7, we have objective 5 and policies 5.12 is the last one. So what Scarlett's saying is add an objective 6. And then under there, just describe, basically pull out the residential, which is in 2.2, and then add a sentence about public facilities and open space.
And what we can do in those
Right. Just,
areas.
the-
is there anything else that we should mention in that helps us with from a grant perspective?
Not with this, not really, I don't think with this. But like, if you look right above this at policy 5.11, where we prioritize tree planting that increases overall canopy, that's a grant, that's a buzzword.
Oh, it's, yeah, I think
So,
part of my understanding in reading through this for the prior meeting and then leaving that meeting before this one is we're trying to use this to be our sword and shield for when anytime that we are trying to go get grants
Mhm.
to say, hey, look, we wrote
Right.
all of the right words, give them.
Yes.
okay, so I will clean up that to add, as we said, objective 6, and then there's going to be an A, B, and C, single family, open space and recreation, and public facilities, and there's that's standard. Line.
Right.
So is because, you know, we've run into it before where people have come in and used the low density, high density, try and do larger developments in the village. And then we have to, go say, okay, we'll look at our land development code. Or we only, even though the densities are these, which is, I guess, set by the county. This area of the county can have low density, this can have high density. Our village turns around and says, okay, we're gonna be even stricter and narrow that down to residential, single family, 2-family, correct? So now what you're saying is let's put it actually in the comp plan, kind of solidify that.
Right, it's in your
Right.
LDRs, we're bringing it over to the,
It is what is supposed to be in a comp plan. You're supposed to say what you can actually do in those districts, but we don't actually have that in here.
Okay.
so. Right, so in your LDRs, the density is either the low density 2 or up to 6.
Yeah.
So. In sectors B, C, and D, so it's consistent.
It is, but then, the entire single family versus dual family, which takes the density down even further for us. So, okay.
Right.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's a max, so, okay, so we're gonna do that fix. And then, the next chapter is housing. So that's on page 9.
Just one last super quick question for future owners. Do we have any well fields in this?
No.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay.
The closest one is Hialeah.
I'm just bringing it up because it's
What's
a
the pipeline?
mapping.
That's your next
I
item.
know, I didn't read it. It's a mapping thing. so
Right.
If we did have anything we want to.
Right, that's in your water supply plan, so. The next element is housing. And again, we took out, we added, reference to Florida statute in the goal. There were some obsolete dates and some language changes that we made. But we try to keep it not many changes, because, there's some laws coming into effect from the county dealing with the rapid transit zoning. So there's some wording in here that I think we need to leave in. So we don't get, you are single family and duplex and not higher density, but I'm hopeful that when this is reviewed by the county and the state, we'll be okay. So I don't want to make too many changes to this just because of what's going on.
Just referencing what you're saying, I think there was some carve outs for residential neighborhoods along that corridor. and
Yes.
That's part of us.
Yes, but I don't want to stir the pot. Okay.
I don't have any comments. I think
Okay, thank you. So next chapter is chapter 3, which is the transportation element. And I think we're in pretty good shape there, but we just, added some policy, added to an objective actually dealing with supporting alternative fuel use and non-motorized transportation options where possible.
Yeah, so I actually had a question on that. Should we say supporting alternative fuel use, comma, like alternative energy source, comma, and no non-motorized? Because what that looks like is that excludes like electric vehicles and
Okay, so what you're saying, supporting alternative.
Which were you at?
for
I'm sorry,
objective 5,
five.
bottom of page 14. It's generally speaking, alternative fuel use would be like hydrogen and like
Right.
other additive fuels or ethanols, that type of thing.
So what would you?
What I was thinking is supporting alternative fuel use, comma, space, alternative energy source, comma, space, and non-motorized transportation options where available, because then that can
Well,
encompass
do we
electric.
need-
vehicles.
do we really need to say fuel use? Can we just say alternative energy? Sources?
I don't know what your buzzwords, I don't know what is most helpful to us. So the way I see it is if we add another buzzword to it, then
Yeah.
then maybe that
Yeah,
helps.
it's like
because-
almost the same to me, but yeah,
Yeah.
we can add it. That's fine. So we'll add alternative fuel use, comma, energy sources, comma, and non-motorized.
Yeah.
And I wanted to look at policy 5.5 because it mentions promotion of compact mixed use.
This, I'm not
Okay,
yeah, you don't have any, but I don't want to delete something and stir up the.
right, because we have it in a few policies throughout.
Yeah, I know that, and you do have some policies, but I think my recommendation is not to touch them because of, like I said, what's going on at the state and the county level with respect to the rapid transit zoning.
Okay.
So
So if we strike it, they might notice it and then they might turn around and say, oh, by the way, we want to add that.
you got it.
know.
So
Right,
that's-
because actually the county is one of the review people that are going to
Yes.
be looking at this document.
No, I like
We'll
how
see
the
it.
conversations happen without the conversation.
No, it's just, let's not stir the pot is what I'm because they will be reviewing this whole document. So. The next,
So just real quick, on the first objective, it says see transportation map series. So that's all these. maps in the
16,
back
yep,
Are
these are all
new?
Yeah, I mean, cleaned up. There are minimal changes to these, so we just modernized the maps. There were a few, let's see. I think,
the types of roads we.
yeah, there was like one minor change. I don't know if it's an exercise route. It was one minimal change. There was something minimal that we had to change, but basically these are just new maps.
Okay.
And that meets the intent of what you're required to do the map series.
But the reason they were red is because you made changes to it? Or you just added that to objective 1? You just added that on page number 12, you just added, it says see transportation map series.
Yes,
Just-
yeah,
you
that
were
was
just
not-
adding that as a reference
Yes,
to it. Okay.
yep. The next chapter is the public facilities element, and again, this is required by state law, this element. So we just cleaned it up at sanitary sewer goal and water, solid waste and water supply. So the first one is dealing with septic tanks and just, we wanted to really clarify that, we need to maintain the sanitary sewers and septic tanks so that they cause minimal contamination of groundwater. So we just wanted to add that policy.
We were actually discussing, I just remembered, remember I was talking to you earlier today, but I remembered what we were discussing the other day is that we wanted to add a policy that we wanted to coordinate with the county so that we could get sewer here in.
And
the
so that,
village.
yeah, basically, this was one of the main points that I think we talked about in our kind of pre-reading is that
Mhm.
our septic system's 8 feet down from the surface, and there's lots of areas in here that are between 9 and 11 feet, and so it's kind of odd and counterintuitive to do a lot of work and paying attention to the potable fresh water, maintenance and systems and upgrading, and then we're deleting stuff out of the septic, which arguably between the two is almost more of a public risk to us, both from a climate change and just in general from a contamination situation. So the policies Scarlett was talking about too, even if it's even if there's nothing that we can proactively just do as Biscayne Park, having something that says that we'll continue on an ongoing basis to coordinate with county and state officials to see what types of programs become eligible, because obviously we can't fund as Biscayne Park any type of switch, but to see if they create hoops, what those hoops are and how we jump through them to make that switch.
Right, and I think that, you know, again, grant opportunities are probably out there that we could look to. And maybe that could be part of the policy too, Alex, is that, you know, seek to work with the county, seek grant opportunities, anything that we can do to bring sewer here. And then another requirement to have homeowners have to hook up to the sewer versus continue with their
So now,
septic.
I'm just thinking of the policy, you know,
Okay.
the village will seek.
I think the thing was, is
Sources.
I think we were thinking that this be a little bit more proactive with it than just like waiting for the county.
Yeah,
Like, hey, we
Yeah.
really want,
Right, this is a proactive, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Village will seek funding. You know, from any source, it could be from the county, from the South Florida Water Management District.
from the state, from the federal
It's
government.
anyone,
right.
so it's like kind of loose. This village will seek funding for conversion.
But we kind of want it to almost be a situation where then that's something the commission looks at and sees every time the commission is reviewing every
Right.
year or a couple of years of like, hey, guys, we have to do a quick search to see what is out there.
Right.
I'll keep talking while you try and write it.
Well, no, the village will seek funding, and it doesn't matter funding sources.
Yeah.
For conversion of septic to sewer.
Because I think that's one of the best ways to protect against pathogen
Right.
nutrients.
So I'm gonna add that as a policy 1.3.
Yes,
So then we'll seek funding, and it doesn't, you know, we don't have to list all the funding sources, but we know there are several of them. And so that gives you some room to go after any funding necessary.
And if you don't mind me asking, is the stuff that's added, are those specific keywords and stuff like that, that is like the pathogens, nutrients and other harmful?
Yeah, that's kind of,
And that
yeah, we've
substance
seen it.
as a type.
Yeah,
but-
we've seen that in other plans and that ties into conservation.
Okay, that's,
So-
I assume there was a reason
Yeah.
for those special words. And then, if you don't mind me asking, why is it that that second sentence is being deleted out?
Because we changed the wording. I mean, it's kind of, it's, well, I'm sorry, yeah, it's that
they
language
added the policy.
policy,
The thing was to add the policy, then they added the policy 2.1.
yeah. And yeah, that include a new policy. We're adding it.
I've already.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
there. So it's kind of the sentence shouldn't have been there.
Gotcha. Substance is a type, there's a typo in the word substance.
Which-
Okay, can you tell?
Substance. Oh, thank you.
So in policy 1.1, it describes that where the village gets reports on the septic systems. Do we do that? Is that a real thing?
You're supposed to maintain, isn't it like an annual review of septic tanks or, I mean, there's everyone's required to maintain their septics, their
It-
septic
it says
system.
something like we get a report from the county.
We'll receive from the county annual report.
Will receive
Yeah.
From the county.
On the condition of septic tanks, and we don't really understand how that would be possible unless people were digging up in their yards.
Does anyone, Mario, have you ever received? No? Okay.
Well, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but for all of the septic stuff, that's all done through Durham, through the county. That's basically the only part of the home building process, if you will, that actually isn't done by Biscayne Park.
Well, it's a state Department of Health was involved at one time and, I'm not, that's not my area of expertise, but I remember they had a function too. I'm pretty sure it was the State Department of Health.
Oh, yeah, we were just curious about that because.
That report, like where is that report? Do we get it? Is that real?
Actually, a thing.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't make up this policy. So the tanks operate.
I think we,
Just curious. I want to see that report.
think we say that they're delinquent by a decade and then we sue them to switch us to septic. or to sewer.
We could, let's see. I mean, is it something that the county's supposed to be doing and isn't?
I don't know.
And how are they knowing what the condition of septic is?
Right,
I really doubt that they,
yeah, I
Do.
doubt.
that's,
I
mean,
guess, I guess.
least
maybe
ever
one
come out
of
from the county.
easiest Ways to verify would be look at like Miami Shores or any of the other places that are also on septic to see if they have a similar piece of language in theirs.
right.
I mean, I would just strike out after the comma. The village will continue to work closely with Miami-Dade County in the inspection and permitting of septic tanks so that tanks operate and are maintained in accordance with counties and state rules and regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I ask any of my other clients, are gonna go, what? You know, so I just, yeah. So I will strike that last section out. So just so you know, when this is cleaned up and it goes to commission, you'll see what we're talking about tonight. It's going to be underlined, if it's new wording underlined, or if it's old, you know, we're striking it out. It'll be stricken through, but it'll show up in yellow. So that's the difference. We always do yellow. So that'll be
That's
that,
my comments.
that'll be the difference between you all and, you know, from the original document I submitted to you and your changes that go to the commission. So then you could track them too.
Or should we vote on a different color?
I don't know why we do yellow, but it's always yellow. So the next part, this is a multifaceted element, I should say. So the next one is solid waste. So we changed the goal a little bit.
The only question I had on that was, why does it say specifically for a minimum of 5 years? That-
Okay, the standard that's in here is 25 years old, 7 pounds. You have not been in compliance with this, the county change, which happened in, yeah, it was 25, I think it was 97. So this is their language.
Okay.
So every
It just
municipality,
happens to say minimum
yeah,
of 5 years,
that's
it.
at the
Okay.
landfill capacity. They don't, you know, care about the pounds per person per day anymore. It's based on the landfill capacity.
Gotcha.
So now.
And Alex, this is the level of service standard,
Yeah,
right?
This is the level of service standard.
Okay, I was confused. I missed that entirely. I was
So
like,
you're
where
not
is
the
that?
only
Okay.
Municipality that's 25 years out of date. So,
Can I just actually, can we go back to 1.2 objective 2? Sorry, just had a question.
1.2. I'm sorry, did you
Uh,
say,
Yeah, page 21.
okay, did you say objective 2 or policy?
Right there, okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to understand the terminology and so cause minimal contamination of water And so cause minimal. So
Address
and so
sanitary
cause minimal,
needs.
that's kind of sticking with me a little bit.
Okay, so to address sanitary needs through septic tanks that are maintained in accordance with all applicable plans.
So,
So
or
I know, I was thinking it was a typo. to-
minimal contamination or
And prevent minimal. How about that? So and to prevent minimal contamination. Does that sound a
Yeah.
bit better?
not an English.
Well, no, it.
It just kind of doesn't roll off the tongue. So.
Okay, so we're going to change, the recommendation is to change so cause to prevent.
Or to promote. And to promote.
Wait, and.
As to
Yeah,
promote.
I'm
as to
wrong.
Promote minimal.
And to. How about allow for, to allow for minimal contamination?
No, we don't want to allow contamination.
No, allow-
To
yeah,
pre-
I'm sorry, to. Okay, so what are we saying?
We want to prevent
To prevent minimal contamination.
any contamination.
Then okay, to prevent minimal contamination. We all agree?
No.
Sounds good or no?
No,
Right.
No, no,
I think
any,
to minimize,
to minimize contamination of
Perfect,
groundwater.
that's it. Okay, we got it. And to minimize. Minimize,
Contamination of.
okay, got it. Okay,
I could already hear Dan Keys, so I decided to go back to it.
yeah, I do this for a living and you should see the stuff I see, you know, it's like,
So we're okay on the solid waste part. I know we had some questions.
yeah,
during our-
just again, we're
Yeah.
this is just to be consistent with your provider, your solid waste provider, which is the county.
Okay.
So again, that was 25 years old. We're being consistent after a quarter century. So,
I had a question on 23, at the bottom in 1.1. So it says to comply with the 10-year design storm level of service standard. So, not being a lawyer, a lot of times when I read those types of sentences, I kind of expect like the design storm level of service for all of those to be capitalized, because I'm assuming that's referencing some specific guideline or documentation that is the 10-year design storm level of service standard somewhere, right? On the bottom of 23 under policy 1.1.
yeah, to be consistent,
yeah, that's based on FEMA. They come up with those.
10-year,
Yeah.
right? But he's
Yeah.
saying
Um,
capital D, capital S.
Just so that
Yeah.
way people know like it's referencing an outside document.
And also other policies generally have like an on-site containment kind of verbiage. And also like before and after development, you need to maintain the same amount of containment before development as and after and on-site. So that's kind of missing from this policy.
They don't, you know, see, and,
I could get you the language. I see a lot of other comp plans.
yeah, because I typically defer to, you know, the county Durham, that's their requirement, that's their, you know, when they review for these things. So, comply with the commissioners, let's see,
I mean, that's what, when we go through site plan review, it's really a great policy to have in our back pocket to say, hey, you're developing the site, you got to maintain all your stormwater on site, same as before development. And keep it on site. So that you don't-
Fill
Neighbors.
Your lot up and all the water. goes-
Right, and then you flood your neighbors.
I mean,
You're just pushing the problem to the
right,
next,
so the county, if you build a bowl, they're happy, you know,
right,
as long as the water stays on your property.
right.
But if you build a mountain, then they give you-
Well, a mountain that doesn't have any retaining sources on it.
Oh, but you know, that's a big policy and that was instituted. And I remember this because of Hurricane Andrew, when Key Biscayne the houses started being built
Yeah.
up, all the water kept on draining to properties that were lower.
Right,
And
That's
so,
on Miami Beach now. too.
right, in Miami Beach and
Remember that most of the properties in Biscayne Park are probably not meeting FEMA's base flooding elevation.
Right.
And so if someone's building a new construction and they build to the minimum required, and I think that's 8 feet, the surrounding houses are gonna be lower to begin with. And
True.
so that's not, they're gonna be in violation of either FEMA requirement or our land comp.
Right, but
It's tricky how you word it.
there's ways to design around it, though. There's all kinds of retention areas that you can, cisterns, underground cisterns, filtration, exfiltration trenches
Just
and.
warning, just be careful how you word it because
well,
No, it's a very common policy that a lot of cities have that kind
I
of
mean, I think
on site,
really simple, all
Right.
stormwater shall remain on site.
right?
That's going to be policy 1.3. All stormwater shall remain on site.
Before and after construction. Or something like that.
Well, no, that's fine. After-
You can wordsmith it out.
Well, is that, can I just stop it at on site?
Well, I think that
Before
the
and
whole before and after construction is kind of important. I do.
On the goal on page 23. Should there be any, it says. The drainage goal for the Village of Biscayne Park is to continue maintenance of local drainage system. It doesn't say anything about. Upgrading local drainages, like a goal should be that we're trying to add drainage. Like we're doing now currently.
Wherever.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
So
I
it
was
just says
thinking-
we're gonna.
You know, I was thinking
There's
the
nothing here
same
that says-
thing. And it's great to write policies when we're already doing it and we're gonna fulfill it.
So, budget wise, I mean, this would be a grant opportunity.
No, we're currently in the middle of it.
Right. but
We are
Upgrading
upgrading our drainage system now. We're not
Right.
just maintenance, we're actually.
It's actually being constructed right now.
So the point is that we is to continue to improve and maintain or something like that. Enhance, or
And we're doing it, so we're already doing the policy. It's great.
Okay, excuse me, how about is to maintain and enhance the local drainage system? Does that work?
Yes.
Is to maintain. Okay, so it's going to read, Biscayne Park is, I'm sorry, Biscayne Park, the drainage goal for the Village of Biscayne Park is to maintain and enhance the local drainage system. So we're striking through continue maintenance of.
I don't mind continuing to maintain.
Well, I think it doesn't read right. I think it's to continue it, to maintain and enhance.
Okay, I'll leave it up to you. But I just think that we need to have something to enhance.
Right. Well, that's, well, yeah,
Yeah.
so we're just cleaning it up a bit. The next goal, the next subsection is,
So I had one more.
Oh.
So, are we actually in the CRS right now? Community rating system, do we have are we in that program? Oh, we are in it right now, but we're not going to be.
What is the CRS? for?
Oh,
Community
community
rating
rating
system.
system, it has to do with our flood insurance policies. If we're in the CRS and we have a low number, but we have a high number, 10 is high. If we're like more like 6 or 5, then we get significant discounts on our flood insurance.
the 5%, like, say 10 is you're paying 100% of the insurance. If you if your rating is 9, then you get a discount of, I think, 5%. and
Right, as it goes down, you get
Down.
more and more and more
Right.
off of your insurance.
So us going out is,
It's
Not-
bad, right?
damn, we're putting all this extra stuff on the ground and instead we just give them a shaft.
Right. it's a big undertaking.
Well, it could be something that we aspire to improve our rating. And I mean, a lot of cities do, and there are things you can do to get better ratings. And I think, obviously putting our stormwater system, all the improvements that we're making, that's going to improve it, like David said. And there's other things we can do as
Is there a
well.
record keeping requirement that we could put towards each house that is getting demoed and rebuilt and stuff?
Yes. Okay. Right.
But what, I guess what I'm saying is there any, from a record keeping perspective, is there anything that we could pass on to residents of Biscayne Park in the process of anything that they're changing themselves? Okay. Yeah. I didn't volunteer, you know that.
So, the next subsection is potable water. So the item 3C on your agenda is dealing with your water supply plan. You get your water from, North Miami. So we kind of cleaned up this to show what the water supply plan, if approved, will be put, the goals, objectives, of policy in your water policies that come out of your water supply plan process will be put in this document. So the big change here is basically cleaning up the level of service standard based on North Miami Beach and your water, North Miami and your water usage, the level of service standard, and that will be capital LS&S, will be 138.9 gallons per person per day.
Can I ask a question? So in policy 1.4, you say 16-year
Yeah.
water supply.
Right.
Everything else is on 2040, but then
This is different because this is what North Miami has, so we have to be consistent with your water supplier. That's
Yeah,
North Miami, so
which,
yeah,
which
it's a weird
those-
number.
Those say 2035, which, but, so 2035 minus 2023 is also not 16. No.
They approved theirs. This is based on what they approved. It does add up to 16 because they
It says their work
let me-
plan was 2019 to 2035.
right. So
Which-
1935 is the 16-year.
Okay, so that's what it's referencing.
Yeah.
Not the number of years from now. until
No.
2035.
It's, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's what they called their plan. So we're just being consistent
You're
with the
just
North
referencing.
Miami plan.
Okay.
And it took a while for them to adopt theirs. It was finally adopted, I think, 2 years later in 2021.
And I'm not sure that it's in this part right here, but isn't part of the way that 138.9 is based off of like the number of new residents that we get credit for or something like that? It's like 18.
No, it's just your population and the usage of water. So that's basically the calculation.
Just real quick on that, isn't there a section of the park that's not North Miami? Isn't there a section of the park that is not provided water by North Miami? I thought there was a little.
The, wait, you're all, I'd have to go back and look at the water supply plan, but
It is 100% North Miami.
yeah.
It is. Then never mind. Just for some reason, I've always thought in my back of my head, there was a little section.
Miami Shores is different, like their county and North Miami, the part above the canal is North Miami, yeah, so they're different, but you guys are all. And I'm verifying now, North Miami.
Well, that was my next question, actually, was what if we decided to venture and try and find another alternative water source?
It's very expensive, and new pipes and new connections and, yeah. I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, yeah, it's a big expense. I mean, I've had another client or two wanting to look into certain things and it's just. you don't want to go there. Yeah, I mean, the pipes are interconnected and I don't know if they're interconnected here in the village, but there are interconnections in case there are emergencies. In some cases, they haven't been opened in years, but there are. So. I mean, that's all I kind of know about.
Well,
that.
and that just, the reason I thought of it and is that it's, by adding in the objective one, we're directly saying that we're gonna go directly with North Miami Utility only. And if you read the rest of it, it all says City of North Miami and or other agencies. So there's kind of always been like this little back door that if we wanted to, through our comp plan, to go seek other,
Right. I mean,
Water.
in theory, you could seek out and,
but now.
Study it.
It's gonna say,
right, because that's your level of service provider right now.
We're not playing hard to get there, so.
Right.
We want them to start with us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I've done a lot of these water supply plans, so I'm trying again to,
That's the question.
so. The other thing I wanted to point out is in policy 2.2. And remember, we had that conversation about, we added to the LDRs about landscape irrigation things, chapter 18A from the county. We, added that in here, policy 2.2. Talks about plant materials with little or no irrigation, but in compliance with the landscape standards in sections 18A and B of the county code. So then that ties your land development regs back into your comp plan. Again, you'll see an insert date here and there that's when we adopt your water supply plan. It has to be referenced in this document. So when the water supply plan is adopted, we'll put in that date of adoption. That's a requirement. You can't just say when adopted. It has to be, in this document.
Do we have natural groundwater off the these type areas?
Probably not. I mean, I guess everything's a natural recharge, recharge.
Goes into the ground.
Just because it's the ground, but I mean, you don't have, like, I think Scarlett said about well fields, they're all west or south.
They don't have any like little fire ponds or anything like that. So I was curious.
So, and then you'll see new dates in here, November 9th, 2021. That's the North Miami adoption. And next one is aquifer protection. We just really there was not much there to clean up, so we just reordered the goal. That we need to be aware of, we need to be aware of protecting the aquifer and support any other initiatives by any other agencies, so. Now, in the next chapter, chapter 5, which starts on page 27, we added a goal.
Did we not have a goal before?
No, there was something missing.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, so we've added the goal to, provide a high quality system of public parks and recreation sites.
So, on policy 1.2, would we want to add the Ed Burke, park to that?
I'm sorry.
On policy 1.2, would we want to add Ed Burke Park to that?
Which part?
Policy 1.2,
Our main
Yeah,
park is
Edmund
called
Park.
Edberg Park.
the main park, yeah.
You guys reference it by name in a couple of other places, just not there.
Oh, no, this is dealing with public rights of way, your medians. And open spaces, not with the park itself. That's in that's 1.4 is. I mean, I think that's talking about the rights of way. But I think 1.1 we should add, instead of saying at the existing park, call it Edberg Recreation.
But 1.2, wouldn't public right of way be like the perimeter sidewalk that people run and jog and stuff like that around Edberg Park.
I was thinking, we're thinking more
Like
like
swales.
this medium, right? Here or on, where people actually walk in the median or
Like on Griffin.
But
drifting.
so then where would, for instance, that sidewalk that does go around Edberg Park, what section does that get referenced into then? If it's not that area?
Where else do we talk about?
I guess, is that under
Side
policy
road,
1.6 where it says,
Meetings to the park.
because that's going to and from the park, but
Right.
the main thing that you see everybody kind of do is walk their dogs and stuff like that around the park.
I mean, I want to change 1.1. Instead of saying at the existing park, I think we need to say it, but. Um. Public rights of ways. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, if you're thinking of the rights of way around the park, but, I mean, it doesn't really hurt anything. You're not gonna get denied if you've had that word. So, I'm just trying to see if there's a better, spot for it. I mean, we can put it, I mean, like I said, it doesn't hurt. Okay, I'm just gonna add that after Northeast 113 Edberg. And the open space adjacent to Village Hall, okay. Okay, so that'll be the change to 1.2. Hey, was there anything else under recreation and open space?
Nope, I'm good.
We threw in the canoe ramp because that was not existing the last time we did this, so. I think that's important, the blue way, via the canoe ramp. Okay. Okay, on to the next element, which is conservation element on page 30. What happened? Well, that's what they called it. People do put canoes in. Right here, no? Isn't that where people? Oh, no. Yeah, no, but isn't it, it's on this side of the avenue. Right? It's this corner.
Yeah.
Isn't this planted with little special, this one, this side? Yeah, across from the church. Yeah. No,
Canoe people are very easy. They don't need any crazy setups. Yeah. No, I have seen people put paddle boards and stuff like that. They park and put paddle boards in there and everything. And I think it was just because that's the easiest place to do it, but I like that we have an official blue way.
well, it is a blue way. I mean, yeah, so.
We gotta make shirts.
So we got that one. Okay, conservation. So, the big push is county worldwide even about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So, this is something that the county, the state are looking for. So, I mean, we did some cleanup language, but,
My only question was, it says very specifically May 1, 2023. I assume that has nothing to do with the commission's readings or approvals or anything like that, but that's that's a very important part.
which
because it's
one?
not-
I'm sorry, what page?
Under policy 1.16, which is all new wording. Page 42/32, yep, right there.
Oh, that's great. Oh, okay.
Says by May 1, 2023. That's the only time in the entire document I saw such a
Yeah.
specific date. That's
So-
some state law.
Yeah,
thing or
this
something.
should have been done a couple of years ago. So
Okay.
I'm kind of pushing the issue. You know, if this is the mandatory year-round landscape irrigation. This was written some months ago, so if we need to move it back, but it's required by statute. So we need to do it.
Should we write by bracket date
Yeah, I mean,
instead of May 1, just because it's gonna be on the commission? to
yeah,
approve?
right. I mean, it's gonna take longer. I'm just trying to think. Well, I know why I put a date in, but, I mean, we could just. We need to do it. So I mean, I could delete the date and just say the village will adopt, but we can't wait, too long to get it adopted.
Does
I'll
that need to
work
be
with
done separately, independently of this document itself?
Correct. It's not the language of the mandatory year-round irrigation is not going to be put in here.
Can't we just give ourselves a couple more months to make it
Yeah.
realistic?
Delete the date, but I just, we need to say, they'd like to see that it's going to be done, so that's.
Say
that's
like
why there's a
by
date in there.
August?
Could do by December, and it's gonna be obsolete as soon as you do it,
Yeah,
so, I mean, this language would be obsolete because you've done it. So, shall we move it back to December 1st or just take out? I mean, I think we need to have it in there, a date, so.
I guess another question is there anything from a funding or grant or perspective that between now and December 1st, we would be going and approaching that we would want to show?
That I don't know. I mean, I don't know what we're applying for. Yeah, so. But I mean, I knowing about these things, we need to have a date. Like I said, this has been done for some months, so that's why it's coming up on. But we could, I could put in by December 1st.
would we also put that hand watering is allowed anytime and any day? I know this is really just for irrigation systems. I
It's in
get
that
that, but I just, but maybe people might get scared if they don't understand that hand watering is different. Just as far as like, let people know how the full regulation says that you can hand water any day of the week, anytime. This is
Would
just your
that be
irrigation system.
referenced, though, in this or in the other part that has to get done? Or does it?
Yeah, no, what he's saying, it is, this is a zoning code change. It's a code change is what this policy is telling you about. But it just might be good information just to have for people to know that it only applies to irrigation systems.
Hand watering, what language would you propose in here?
Well, I guess my greater question off of that same question is that if we're adopting the blank, 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 it's in all caps here, does that then say that in that blank, blank, blank thing, all the stuff about 2 days a week and 3/4 inch to 1 inch, like, so do we need all of the sentences after the end of the parentheses code? Because
Yeah.
wouldn't that all be considered to be inclusive of that SFWMD's mandatory year-round landscape irrigation conservation measures being in all caps?
Right, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a lengthier code, but this is, I mean, this is kind of just the this concise version of what's in the, what you have to do.
Yeah, but so
So-
that's getting approved separately, I guess. My point to kind of help out hers is if we delete from code period on and take that stuff out, that will be referenced in the part that the commission would be passing for December 1 or whatever date. And then in that part, it would also say, like, even though it talks about the 2 days a week and stuff, it would say hand water.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because it's like, the problem is if we're gonna start putting the specific parts of that statute, then we kind of.
We leave stuff out, right,
All of it, or,
Right.
or just take it out.
Long, right?
right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't,
Okay, that's,
I don't.
that's
I don't
kind of a good
think it's
suggestion.
hard, to be honest, because we're saying that, we have to comply with 40E-24 of the Florida Administrative Code. So that's the first sentence. I don't think, I've just seen it this way, but I don't think it's really necessary because, yeah,
That's,
just don't go halfway, go.
Right.
Nothing.
yeah, that's why I'm saying,
So you all agree? Okay, so the.
also, it's part of our conservation to not kill as many trees. like we
Right,
do.
so, yeah, that's true. Okay, so,
After that parentheses code, then.
so the recommendation is to take out specifically through rainfall, so that's
Correct.
the last two sentences, and
Right.
then just refer to the Florida Administrative Code.
Yep.
Okay,
And then.
and we're going to
the date
December,
comes out.
right, pushing it out to December.
And can we go back to 1.11? So really, this is super minor, but it talks about we could qualify for exemptions from sewer charges, but we don't have sewer, so.
Wait, I'm sorry?
Way to rub it in.
Last sentence.
We don't.
Which would
follow-
allow residents to qualify for exemptions from sewer charges, but we don't have.
You may when you get sewers.
I know, but.
Well, but, fill it in the pool. Right? I mean, if your goal,
How does a filling the pool get into the sewer?
no, that's your exempt, that's the exemption.
No, but we don't have sewer. So we have no sewer charges.
But you will eventually, I don't,
Okay.
I mean, I would leave it in.
Just
that's
feedback,
Like kind of
but-
standard county wording,
Okay.
and so when you get sewers, then you'll get a discount.
I think we put in all caps, we don't have sewers after. as
Yeah,
a
don't.
sentence, So that way, when we're complaining
Right.
about not having sewers, we just
Mhm.
tell them which page to reference.
I'm sure
Future sewer.
we have a
discount.
small crowd.
Okay, two, wait. 1 point, I'm sorry, which? Policy 1.2?
Objective two?
Objective to policy 2.1.
Oh, okay. Are you an English teacher? You do. Okay, and accordingly. And to respond accordingly, and to. Accordingly to deterioration of local conditions. Got it. So, let's see, we talk about tree canopy again, there are a couple, under objective 3, we're just adding tree canopy coverage. And it has to be maintained or expanded. And if there are areas lacking tree canopy, try to
Yeah, our only problem there is the areas that are lacking tree canopy is because the county cuts it down. And the medians that we don't get to have, we don't get to be in charge of, so.
Where have they,
There's
Griffin?
They're taking out
Bigger.
Australians?
But they.
It's not, yeah, I mean, I don't think that we really need to change anything, but I think that's the only place that we've experienced loss of tree canopy. Since, or since,
We experience it every time they build a new house.
Right. Right, well, like 121st, right? I don't get that. I've seen it and I'm not sure what the logic is, putting them closer. I'm not an arborist, I don't know, but you know, I've seen exactly what you're talking about. Right.
Page 34.
objectives 5 is, to get grant money type of language.
This is basically required, I
Yeah.
think, you know, but this would also help in that. Right. So we just thought it would, you know, we need a little bit, we needed to beef up. The flood, you know, this flood, sea level rise issue, so. The BFE we talk about, so I think, you know, this is something that was definitely missing. Was it really discussed as much 10 years ago or 12 years ago when the last comp plan was done? Not really, so, I just think this is, it's very helpful. These are helpful policies. Okay. The most exciting chapter is intergovernmental coordination, of course. So again, we just cleaned up a few things here. I mean, there's really nothing.
I just had one thought, and I don't know if other members agree with me, but if we could have a policy on coordinating with the Water Management District on canal maintenance and also specifically for, you call it the levee or what is the gate? Yeah,
Yeah, salinity.
maintenance of that. I think you were talking about that the other day, David.
Yeah. Yep. So
If we as a village see something happening, we, you know, like that would be appropriate that we coordinate with them and let them know.
Gage mentioned at one point there was a storm that came through and that it didn't open the way that it should, so it meant that all of a sudden all the stuff south of Stick got extra water going into people's yards. But among other things, for instance, this is the question I was asking the last time, like, we don't know how frequently that has, like a maintenance and systems check, and we don't know how frequently it's looked at as being potentially updated or modified. And because of that, we're at risk.
I think.
Mario, do we get any type of communication with South Florida Water Management as far as maintenance of the canal, maintenance of the dam, anything? Nothing?
So as a homeowner on the canal, they sent me a letter like a year ago that they were gonna come look at trees that they might want to trim out of the yard or something like that, but that was kind of the only thing that I ever have been communicated with them. So,
So,
but that was just me, like, as a homeowner. I mean, I'm saying if we have a policy that says, you know, as a village, you know, maybe if the police see something happening, or, you know, if, you know, or maybe we could request those maintenance documents to see how are they maintaining that facility down there?
Like in preparation of hurricane season.
Right, maybe, yeah, once a year before hurricane season, just if they could let us know what the situation is or something like that.
well, okay, so.
I mean, it does,
October, objective 3.
Objective three, okay.
1.7 does say something about regional water supply authority.
Oh, that's like water supply planning, I think. If that's 2.7, yeah, that's just dealing with the water supply planning. So I think maybe under objective 3. What was the wording, Scarlett, that you were talking about? Adding, like, as a new
So,
policy?
Just to coordinate with the water management district for the canal maintenance and also the structure. I forgot what it's called already.
Levy, dam.
It's called the salinity dam.
Salinity Dam.
The village will coordinate with South Florida Water Management District.
And it would be to receive update on ongoing service and maintenance, as well as potential improvements or upgrades.
I mean, I think you can say the village will coordinate with the South Florida Water Management District to receive updates on all ongoing canal maintenance. Yeah, period. Yeah, upgrades, you don't want them to widen.
No, but what we would like them to
Sorry.
do is upgrade that levy thing. If there's more advanced electronics, different sensors, stuff like that, that keeps it or identifies very quickly if it is having some error and not opening properly, that then means that the south side of.
Right. Okay, so then we'll just add canal maintenance or upgrades.
And then, and then maybe there's a second objective that would be that the village would, assist or continue in, lobbying, supporting, doing whatever in order to try and bring anything to, or I guess what I'm trying to say is is there any point in adding, a second objective that's saying that basically we'll send the commissioners and everybody else after to them saying, hey, guys, you need to pay attention to this because you haven't been paying attention. That first objective is kind of just from a data receiving perspective, right? And if we have another one where it's like, hey, guys, you need to.
Well, the first objective, objective 2 says to coordinate with appropriate state, county, and local agencies which have operational and maintenance responsibility for public facilities in Biscayne Park. That's a public facility.
Right.
So,
But technically, it's not in Biscayne Park, like based off of the very first map. It's where that dam is
right,
is
you're
in-
adjacent to. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I mean,
it's down and you could see the little like I guess it's just adjacent to, so I'm not a lawyer to be able to argue.
Yeah, I
whether
mean,
or not that counts in
yeah.
our stuff.
But I think we're covered because, you know, anyone, not just an elected official, anyone could coordinate under them. So I think we're, you know, good to go.
Okay.
If there's a problem, you can call. Okay, so another element within your plan is the capital improvements element. So you lay out yearly what your capital improvements are. So what through your budget process, if the drainage improvements that will be in your budget and capital as a capital improvement, any parks improvements, any local roads that you maintain are capital improvements. So that's just what this element is about, just laying out a few things. And also what's also included in this element is your levels of service. It's a kind of a repeat. And that's typically how it's done. It's all pulled together. Your level of services for solid waste and sewer, septic tanks, drainage, potable water, are all laid out again in here. There's some references again to the water supply planning. We added another addition to policy 4.4 about removing trees in poor condition, but sustain the village's tree inventory. So no net loss of trees, I guess, basically. Right. That's a budget. I mean, I'll have to defer the matter. Yeah. I mean, if they're capital, if there's a capital improvements to fix a roadway, then that would show up in, your budget.
For chapter 9, do we need to have goal TBD, objective TBD? Like, I guess my question is, do we need to have chapter 9 at all first?
Yes,
and then
yes, you do.
Okay, and then
So-
do we have to have the goal TBD and objective?
Yeah, we're waiting for it to be adopted, then it'll get stuck in here.
Okay.
So it's hanging. You all looked at it a couple months ago, the property rights element, I believe.
It's here, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
You said right here. You have it on the second, this is the, oh, no, this is. Oh, no, never mind.
It's kind of,
It's your memo that.
yeah,
it's okay.
it's-
I thought it was, you're actually,
no,
you
no.
stuck the draft thing back there, the first.
Right, so it's, yeah. It's
Okay.
A little out of order, but yeah, there's a goal, objective, and 4 policies that you looked at some months ago. So this is just a placeholder.
Yep.
So, and it shows the state, hey, yeah, we know, we're doing it. So,
Just to ask you a question from a logistics perspective. Does that have to be adopted before we adopt this?
Transport. The state has 30 days to review it. Come back, adoption, May or whatever. So the property rights element will be adopted. And then the next item on the agenda is the water supply plan, and then the third item is
And this first reading can happen while all the other stuff's been reviewed.
sorry, they'll reject it. Return it.
Yeah, so basically we at minimum have to have that December change on that one part.
Yeah.
We have this bottleneck before that stuff.
Right. So, yeah, but I mean, you have to adopt. No ifs, ands, or buts. Property rights has to be adopted. And then these can go.
Okay.
Because they will return this.
December.
Yeah. So with that, I'm finished with the comprehensive plan unless you have any other questions.
Last objectives. I just remember in our previous comp plan, there was language about adopting doing a water feature of some sort that a previous commissioner brought up and tried to implement. And I just don't remember. Like, no, water, like a play feature or something like that. Was that in here? Did you see that? Okay, so I swear I remember when at the time I was like, at the time I remember thinking, what a weird thing. And then going back to the comp plan, it's like, oh my goodness, it's actually in the comp plan. You know, so I just, when we were reviewing it, I kept an eye out for it and I just don't recall. Oh, here it is right here. 3.1, policy under objective 3.1, and a play fountain for children. Well, no, this was like, you know, it was it was a controversial thing. It didn't go forward, but you know, it was in our comp plan and, you know, I don't know where it ever came from. But,
So you have to be the bad guy that deletes it.
I'll leave that up to the commission. They want to make that decision. No, there was actually a talk about like, let's put in one of those features where kids can run around and.
So at this point, we can vote to approve, vote to approve with changes or vote to deny. Recommendation. Changes. So that's, so I could say, hey, I nominate the vote to approve with changes as a recommendation to the committee.
Going to approve the transmittal to the commission with the changes out.
Yeah, so, but I'm supposed to do that, so I'm supposed to second that, I'm supposed to say aye. Yeah, okay. That's what I was trying to figure out, like.
Okay, so let's, before we go, is there any comment from the manager? I saw, want to go up there?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we take public comment.
Okay.
Just to cover all our bases and make sure that the state doesn't later come and say, oh, you didn't take it. So if there's anyone here that would like to make a public comment, especially on the record at the mic, please come up.
And what about on Zoom? Is there?
We
need to
can,
pay
yeah,
for
we can,
today?
if someone would like to make a public comment via Zoom, please hit the raise hand icon on the bottom of the toolbar.
And please sign, there was a sign-in sheet, so.
Yes, everybody's
great,
already
perfect.
signed in. So once again, if you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment, please hit the raise hand icon on the bottom of the toolbar. Mr. Chairman, I see none.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing none, let's move on. Any further comment on the board? Okay, let's make a motion. David,
So-
we're gonna start, make a motion.
Yeah, make a motion to recommend with the changes that are made. Correct. That's the right way of saying it.
Recommending transmittal to. the commission.
Recommending transmittal to the commission.
With changes made.
with changes made.
Second.
Second by Scarlett. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so we're moving that forward to the commission with those changes. All right, so next on our agenda would be the discussion of the water. Let me just read it correctly. 3C water plan update. So I'll turn that over to Alex to see if he has to make your presentation, and then is there any PowerPoint or is it
No.
just okay. We're just gonna walk through it?
Yeah. Long and short, this is another requirement of the Florida statute. Every municipality is required to update their water supply plan every 5 years. The village did not do the last go around, so we kind of had to go back to the 2010 document, which actually I did. I wasn't around in 2015, so it was skipped. So we just had to make up for that time and put in some additional policies that are required, and new language that's required by the state and water management district. So
So the copy I have is, it does not show red lines. It does show
No.
strikeouts and everything. Is that,
correct.
am I looking at an old document or is this
No,
the actual?
this is the actual one. Yeah, this is just I don't know why that was done in red and this one's done in just black. So everything,
It's underlined or struck out as new.
correct,
New.
new language. And basically the process is this. The Water Management District, the South Florida Water Management District has their, what we call the Lower East Coast Water Supply Plan update. They have to do theirs every 5 years. And all municipalities and the counties have to update their plans in theory within 18 months of the water management doing theirs. So anyway, everyone seemed to be behind, and I think a lot of it was due to COVID. There were many water supply plans that were not done on time, including North Miami, including Miami-Dade County. So we had to wait partly for North Miami to get theirs adopted. So this is just basically language we have to add. There, new Florida statute citations. As you see in the first paragraph on page 5, we had to add 2011, 12, and 15 and 16 sessions years because the Florida legislature changed the laws in those years. And like I said, our last water supply plan was done in 2010. So, I'm sorry? Oh, we're good. Okay, we good? So basically, the first,
Oh, there's no,
no.
nothing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, basically more administrative. So I didn't do a PowerPoint for this.
There's not even. So,
Well, I don't want to bore everyone.
Okay.
I mean, you could pull
Okay.
up the language.
all right, just the only thing that caught my attention was just the page 4. Policy 1.414. It's the same thing that we kind of struck in the comp plan. Is this the appropriate place for,
Sorry, which,
page 4? It's the policy regarding the village ordinance shall prohibit landscape irrigation during these periods of time. It's everything that we just struck out of. I'm on page.
wait, I'm sorry, are you looking at the water supply plan?
Yeah, isn't that where we're at?
It's a document. It has,
You know what, I'm reading the ordinance page. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Okay. I was in the ordinance at the beginning.
okay, yeah. So,
But it's, again, it still says the same.
what policy was it?
It's, you look at the actual ordinance, 2023, page 3, page 4. It's 4, then 7 on the right. It says wallet policy 1.14. So this is actually in the ordinance. Or is the ordinance like a condensation of all the?
Well, the
codes in?
ordinance refers to. The ordinance refers to the actual water supply plan and then incorporated as an attachment or the actual goals, objective, policy changes. So you're talking about what policy again?
If you look at, again, page.
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual report.
Page 4, policy 1.14. So let's reference that over to 1.4.
So we're,
Didn't see it in-
yeah, no, it's on page 28 of the actual report, so,
Okay, here it is.
right. So we're taking out the last 2 sentences from.
Well, I'm just asking because I was.
No, it has to match, so, we'll make sure it's matching.
Got it.
So anyway, again. All this is required by statute. This has been blessed by the Water Management District already because they do courtesy reviews of these documents before it goes through the approval process. So, there are a lot of strike throughs up front. We don't really need to talk about the demographics of the village in this thing. There are regional issues that have to be addressed and referenced in here so that you'll see a lot of a whole section, 2.2 relevant regional issues. So these are the things that were kind of missed in the last, because there was no last go around. We look at population and population projections, water usage, so you'll see a number of tables in here, just talking about water and per capita usage and some other items that are required. Finished water, daily demands, water allocations. We also describe the North Miami system. And there are some interconnections to their system with Miami-Dade County. I'm trying to look at for the closest one is a connection, North Miami to the Miami-Dade Wasatch system at 115th and Second Avenue. And then one at Sixth Avenue and West Biscayne Canal Road, which is up far, then that's northwest, I'm sorry, yeah. So there's really nothing, the closest one would be Northeast Second Ave and 115 for a connection. We have to describe, again, any changes that they have at any of their water treatment plants. What else? Yeah, we
Okay.
had, conservation, discussions in this document. And again, if there's alternate water, alternative water supplies, we need to mention, that, and that was added. We discussed, also updated the, capital improvement schedule, from Wausau and, North Miami. And then we have the goals, objectives, and policies listed in here. So again, this is kind of very straightforward. We follow the state laws on these.
I just have a question. You may have absolutely no idea, but in some of the parts where, for instance, they're doing population projections and then how that relates to.
You just,
For instance, I'm looking at page 14-20 or 14 and then
14.
also 23. So that has the new water supply utility service within water distribution service area. Chart at the top, right?
this, on page 13.
14. 14. Yeah.
Oh,
That's the new one.
Yep.
So like, how do they identify, because I just was doing all of the math and it changes a little bit. So 2020 to 2025 is like 2.8%, 2025 to 2030 is like 2.7, 2030 to 2035. How is it, do we know any idea of where they're sourcing those numbers? Because one thing that seems to be happening in Biscayne Park is there seems to be a growing number of younger families that have more small kids and stuff like that. And so I feel like that using a very linear depreciating formula versus the way that Biscayne Park actually uses, if this is something that there's no ability for us to contest at any point, then by 2035, we'll be in a bad spot because I think that we'll be growing at a faster rate than right now, a depreciating growth rate.
Hence the need to do this every 5 years. These they're not cast in stone. They will change. I mean, this.
Yeah, you could see because they changed it from the last one, but
Right.
what I'm saying is there a place where the commission or the village or whatever comes in and says, hey, I know that your little graph says this, but this is what we're actually experiencing or
Right, I mean,
is
that will show up with. No, the issue is here, you're right, people, if families are moving in, there's just more population. So. The county keeps kind of a good track of that, and so the state tries, they're not not always accurate, but. There's a specific sources and it's. Some of this, this is like a science. I'm not gonna, I'm not a demographer, but like I said, they will change over time. It's not cast in stone out to 2035. When we come back in 5 years, these numbers are
They'll
gonna
have a
change.
new map.
Right,
And that new
But it's
map
like-
will be based
it's
off
all
of the new-
statistical. I don't, it's like a lot of stuff going into these things,
I
so.
think that they kind of just go through, they look at past patterns and then they just project forward. I think that's about the science of it.
I guess my
and-
question is, how often do they then change their map?
Is it yearly, Alex?
Well, the county does,
Bieber, they're yearly
the
updates?
Beaver, I mean, it's like an ongoing thing. But,
Yeah, every year.
and Beaver, which is it's a state organization through the
Right.
University of Florida.
Yeah.
They research building permits and a ton of background information to come up with the data. Not always right, not always wrong,
Yeah, they're.
so,
not
but
usually-
they rely on, counties and cities and like I said, permits and a lot of other things to figure out. Do they look at school enrollment? I don't know that one, but
Mhm.
I think there are many sources, including Miami-Dade County, which has a very excellent group that looks at.
But that being said, David has a good point, is that they don't necessarily like look at the character of your actual city as far as like, are you growing in families or are you declining in families?
Yeah,
They don't have that kind of institutional knowledge
I
that
would-
we do.
I wouldn't care, except having been here for 5 years, it's fairly obvious that like the more people that are selling, the people that are
Right.
buying are
It's-
younger people, and then
It's the same in my neighborhood. I mean,
Yeah.
the same in my neighborhood. There are a lot more kids.
I guess the question is there anywhere then, whether it's here or comprehensive plan, that we should think about having some objective that says that when this new math comes out off of what their timelines are, or if it's off of our 5-year timeline, that the commission makes a concerted effort to try and evaluate whether or not those population numbers are keeping up with what we're using.
I don't wanna play around with the review.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be off my balance.
But what does it affect if the population numbers are different? Are we gonna get less water or something? Is that? Uh-huh.
But there should be availability in North Canada now to take care of the extra population. If there's not gonna need to build more facilities to handle. And that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
It's concurrency of facilities, they have to, provide a certain level of water usage.
Cause I thought that part of this was that they were basically saying, hey, yeah, this is your top threshold at that 138 number. And so in my head, and this may be totally wrong, I was just basically taking that number, multiplying it times the population credits that they're giving us and saying, oh, okay, if instead we're over by 3,000 because we didn't grow at 2.7% for this 5-year span, we grew at 4.
You're not losing water, so, it's just an educated guess, kind of, to figure out what, in your case, North Miami has to prepare for. And them, I mean, they're putting in high-rise developments and more buildings, and they want to increase densities in certain areas, so they're planning for population growth, and you're part of that. So, like I said, we.
Furthermore, that it also gives reason for more conservation efforts too.
And that, if you see, there's some language in here about conservation.
Right.
And, that's a big push.
That's a big part of it, right? The planning is a lot about just getting
So-
these to realize that residents have to conserve water more than ever before.
Right, we're not living in a desert, other areas, but we still
But we still have an issue.
serve, we
Yeah.
still need.
We
to
still have an
Right.
aquifer that we draw out of every day and
Right.
there's saltwater intrusion into it. And the more we draw out of the aquifer, the more that happens. And
Right,
it's bad for
and-
everybody.
It's, Miami-Dade County, it's like 300 and something, or almost 400 million gallons a day. So they're huge numbers.
Right.
So, that's why there's a big push for water conservation too. The reason why yours, and I have to point this out, the reason why your numbers look like it went up, it really didn't. It was just your water supply. I'll leave it at that. There was a mistake in the report.
Oh, okay.
So, that's why it went up. It looks like it went up, but it just, there was bad numbers.
Okay.
So,
Is there anything else for us to look at on this?
nope, you, caught that one item, you know, so we'll be consistent. I mean, it's in here, but you know, we'll be consistent in both documents. And again, the same thing. This will be sent off to all the agencies, the Water Management District, the state, the county, a few others. They'll look at this thing and then we'll get comments back. Any changes will be reflected in the document and then it'll be coming back for adoption. You know, the second reading.
Right, and I know that, Alex, you said that this has already been kind of peer reviewed by the Water Management District and there, you know, that's pretty solid. We've probably
Yeah.
got,
So, and
The-
Terry's
Check.
retiring.
oh, right.
So
Oh, no.
the reviewer, after many years, she's retiring. So that's why I wanted to get this in for a courtesy review before she retires. So anyway, I think we're good to go. And with that, I'd request a recommendation of approval, subject to your one change, and transmit it to the.
I make a motion for recommending approval to our commission and
Oh,
subject to one
actually, before we
change.
do that, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Is there any public comment?
And we also need to check on the Zoom.
And is there, I'm looking at the Zoom thing. Is there anybody on Zoom that, just raise your hand? I mean, the only people there would probably ask a question would be the Andersons. Because I don't think, is anybody else? So I was seeing no hands raised. I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. So I have a motion.
Do you have to repeat it or you're good?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We'll put that recommendation forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this will not, since it's all been pushed through from us, it will not be coming back to the local planning agency. It's
Correct.
now will be presented to the commission, unless they send it
Yes.
back with any
Right.
comments. We
Right.
probably won't be seeing it again.
Right, but I'm pretty, you know, confident exactly, you know, with the water supply plan. I mean, I think this is my 22nd or third one I've done. Yeah, I've done a lot. So I'm pretty comfortable with this. There may be, you know, some tweaks. It's pretty, I think, in very good shape.
I like that we're doing it while there's water construction going on.
All right, so any further business? I think we've covered our agenda and just if you don't want the book, send it back to the village hall so they can reuse it on another you know, another project, whatever. It was very nice that they put them all together for us. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I need a motion first.
Motion to adjourn?
David, can I get a second, please? Charlotte, all in favor, say aye. Aye, okay, we are adjourned at 7:58. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alex.
I don't know where that's from.